Everyone waits for that one day in a month desperately. That one day is the happiest day of the month in everyone's life who has a job. And that one day is the day you get your paycheck. In normal conditions, a young, social person may spend a large percentage of their monthly income on meals and entertainment. A weekend getaway or a long-awaited trip overseas may be your budget buster. This is on top of college loans, vehicle loans, and credit card debt that young people already have. In this video, we're going to talk about how you should manage your paycheck and salary. But before starting this video, please like the video and subscribe to this channel for more exciting content. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
A one step forward, one step back loop with your credit card might lead to an insurmountable debt load. In a cycle like this, it's difficult to move forward financially without making compromises. However, this is not always the case. Nevertheless, there are ways to strike a good balance between present-day life and future preparation. Giving up your hard-earned pleasures may not be required. Breaking down your paycheck into the 50-30-20 method. 50% of your gross salary is set aside for necessities, such as bills and recurring expenses, groceries, rent, or mortgage. 30% of your budget is set aside for dining or ordering in and entertainment. Personal savings and investment aspirations account for 20% of total spending. Let's divide it down. First, the necessities, second, savings and investments, and third, leisure and recreation. Keep your basics at approximately 50% of your gross pay. In order for a paycheck to be considered gross, before taxes, bills, rent, groceries, and debt payments should account for around 50% of the total. Remove this money from your primary account as soon as possible so that you may rest assured that your necessities will be met. This is often effective, but if you live in a high-cost city like Chicago or New York City, you'll likely be paying a higher percentage of your income for necessities. Make the necessary adjustments. Set aside 20% of your income for savings and debt repayment. This is the portion of your income that is placed away to help you achieve your financial goals in the future, whether they are long-term or somewhat short-term in nature. The most important thing to remember is to make adequate contributions to your retirement plan to maximize your employer's match, if one is offered, and position yourself to assist you in achieving your long-term financial goals. The remaining half is made up of your goal-to-debt funds, about 10% of your pay. The way you utilize this money may alter over time, depending on your own circumstances. Utilizing it to start an emergency fund so that you can be financially prepared if life throws you a curveball and not have to rely on a credit card to meet unforeseen bills is the first instance. Set an attainable target, such as $1,000, and once you achieve it, go on to saving 1 month's worth of costs and so on, with the goal of having 3 to 6 set aside, which may take a few years. Now that you've reached your $1,000 emergency fund goal, try dividing your allocation into 2 parts, 8% for credit cards and 2% for an emergency fund. Maintain your contributions to the emergency fund. If possible, maintain your emergency savings in a separate location from your checking account to help minimize temptation. It could be at an online bank or a separate financial institution altogether. Try Bankrate.com to compare high-yield savings accounts. Essentially, the goal is to change your behavior by making transfers take longer so that you are less motivated to use the funds for a buying spree. Spend the remaining 30% whatever you want, but don't keep track of your spending. Surprised? It's time-consuming to say the least. People also have a tendency to abandon tasks that they despise. The financial planning process is primarily concerned with behaviors rather than numbers. You should rearrange your priorities to save first and spending comes last. With the help of automated apps or bank accounts, you may deduct the money you need for living costs and future savings from your salary. It may require a mindset change, But once you are confident that your financial objectives have been reached, you may spend the remainder of your salary without feeling guilty. If you're concerned about going overboard when you can finally shop and dine in person again, consider putting your credit cards on hold and easing back into things with a cash-only strategy. Using credit and debit cards makes money abstract. It's difficult to acquire a mental hold on cash flow when you don't have access to the actual cash. For example, you may set aside money for your nights out on the town. Because there is no economic difference between paying with cash and paying with a credit card, this is solely a behavioral shift. The cash runs out is a hard stop. Additionally, it assists in prioritizing an evening's activities. A similar concept can be used as a travel budget, which can be either a per day or per trip budget with the money remaining in cash. Budget before each paycheck. You will most likely have a more consistent income now that you are a salaried employee. Before receiving a salary, it's critical to have a spending plan in place. Choose the budgeting strategy or tool that best suits your needs. Include payments to yourself, such as Roth donations, savings account deposits, or even setting up a 401k contribution through your employer before you get your salary. While you're at it, you can also learn more about the differences between IRAs and 401ks. Prioritize your savings and genuine needs, such as housing, transportation, and food. After your basic needs are addressed, you can set aside money for products that aren't absolutely necessary, but are significant to you. Leave some money for enjoyment if your budget allows it. Create an emergency fund for yourself. Even if you don't believe you'll need it, start saving for an emergency fund if something goes wrong. Beginning with a modest amount of money each day is acceptable. One never knows when one will be forced to make a financial sacrifice. When that happens, you'll be astonished by how far you can stretch a limited amount of money to meet your necessities. Get insurance. Insurance, particularly medical insurance, is not a luxury. Rather, it is a fundamental requirement, and you should begin to think of it in this manner. A sudden medical emergency is the most common method for people to become trapped in a debt cycle, and having insurance shields you from that possibility. Examine your bank and credit card statements. Examine your bank and credit card statements every couple of months to look for patterns in your expenditures. You will not only become aware of it if you have been spending more than you should for expenses, but you will also begin to consider finding more cost-effective methods to accomplish things, such as cooking at home rather than ordering takeout. Make a solid distinction between your necessities and your wants. We live in an age of social media, where appearances are quite important. However, it is important not to confuse what you desire with what you require. It's quite acceptable to desire and occasionally purchase something expensive, but this does not imply that you require it. For example, food is a requirement, whereas cuisine from a Michelin-starred restaurant is a desire. Every now and then, take the time to distinguish between the two situations. It's incredible how much money you can save by doing so. Last but not least, there is one important point that many young professionals fail to grasp. Just because you have discretionary funds left over at the end of the month doesn't mean it has to be spent. It's quite acceptable to not live paycheck to paycheck. Set aside some money and put it aside for a rainy day. You must improve your ability to manage your finances. Depending on your situation, you're either living paycheck to paycheck, in which case you can't afford to waste money, or to make a lot of money and spend it on things that don't matter to you. Neither of these extremes can be considered reasonable. Take charge of your finances and learn how to deal with your income properly. So, what do you think of our video? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear from us again, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button before you go. As always, thanks for watching.